On February 14th, Capcom launched the follow-up monster for their Monster Hunter World and Witcher collaboration, Ancient Leshen. The monster was, and still is, a grueling fight. Ancient Leshen also boasts the ability to teleport, and pre-patch would teleport every couple of seconds, giving the player just enough time to get a hit or two in. Ancient Leshen also had a game mechanic developed for the fight, the Ignis Fire spell. Pre-patch, the Ignis was completely useless and really did nothing for the fight. Ancient Leshen is a 4-phase fight that drags the player across the ancient forest. Solo clear times for the pre-nerf version of Ancient Leshen were staggering. Top players across all weapon categories were struggling to finish the quest. Ancient Leshen seemed to be following Capcom's trend of releasing unreasonable monsters with extremely high health pools, high flinch resistances, and multiple phases triggered by reaching specific damage thresholds. This seemed to be an effort to beef up the difficulty and prevent their monsters from melting away. Ancient Leshen was a step in the wrong direction, artificial in difficulty and completely unfun if you ask me. Luckily, me complaining on the forums and Discord did nothing to stop players from speedrunning this monster. Many top players began forming teams, started developing strategies and speculating setups that would lead to some amazing discoveries that even the developers didn't see coming. This breathed life into the speedrun community at the time. Players were excited to work together, to be a team. You see, to me, teamwork in a high-level Monster Hunter speedrun setting is when 4 individuals act as one, completely selfless. And this teamwork would eventually lead up to the greatest 4-man team speedrun rivalry of Monster Hunter World's life. Early on, TSC and Jin Furai brought together a team of elite, high-level speedrunners to work on tackling this beast, and those players were But before our heroes had the chance to post a preliminary run, teams in the East had beat them to it. A team headed by a Japanese speedrunner named Bomb put out a day 1 4-man melee run. All 4 players use Greatsword, and here we see early development in the Leshen meta. In Area 2 or Phase 2, we see Bomb's team utilize Aerial Greatsword, a technique popularized by TSC. This is important to note because Aerial Greatsword is arguably the most powerful weapon in the game, even beating Glutton and Cluster Runs in many cases. And it's called Aerial Greatsword, not ledge hopping, by the way. Bomb's team closed out the fight at 6 minutes and 25 seconds. The team showed what could be done with melee, but the strats were still in their infancy and malleable. A team ran by Sora, another Japanese speedrunner, posted a day 1 run, utilizing Aerial Greatsword the entire fight. Using the middle ledge, something we'll get to later in the video, they posted 1 run and then moved on to other fights. But the run is notable for being one of the first Aerial Greatsword runs for Ancient Leshen. Another team, day 1, drops a 4-man, 3 Aerial Greatsword, and 1 pair of Switch Axe run. This team tried to focus more on CC, and they actually posted 2 runs on the Ancient Leshen release day, a 7:18 and then a 6:32 PB a couple hours later. The early Ancient Leshen team speedruns can be closely related to the beginning of the Dark Tournament saga in Yu Hakusho, a bunch of teams taking a shot at winning the competition. Quickly though, the Ancient Leshen team speedrun became more like Yusuke versus Chu, 1 team versus 1 team, and having an all-out knife-edge deathmatch, and anyone not involved just had to sit back and watch. February 17th, Bomb's team posted a 4:42.98, a massive PB for the team. Bomb's team also utilizes mount exploitation, where the mounter would just stay mounted on Ancient Leshen for as long as possible. We see all 4 members of the team using Aerial Greatsword. Bomb's team also settled into their preferred ledge, the ledge in the east. Another important thing about this run, we see an early phase 2 skip for Melee. Phase skips, or even preventing any phase transitions at all, will be key moving forward for both of these teams. On the same day, TSC and his Sky Pirates post their own run, the world's first sub-4 Ancient Leshen Melee run, a 3:47:51. The run featured TSC, Phemeto, Sazerou, and Jin Furai, 2 aerial hammers, and 2 aerial greatswords. The thought process behind using 2 aerial hammers was that aerial hammer was much easier to hit the head of Leshen, and provided some extra CC in the way of a KO. The team uses an AI manipulation to position Leshen in the west ledge by staying outside of Ancient Leshen's aggro range and applying damage via the hanging boulders. Ancient Leshen will teleport to the west ledge, unaware that there are players waiting for him there. This is a guaranteed monster pull. Besides the massive discovery of pulling Ancient Leshen to the ledge, TSC's team also implemented a flash spam technique that the team called flash flinching. We see TSC stop attacking the monster when no player is mounted, and starts throwing flash bombs until a player nabs another mount. You see, the mount is preventing Leshen from teleporting to another phase, and flashes do the same thing. TSC uses them to bridge the gap between the mounts, thus continuing the lock. This was the first sub-4 Melee Ancient Leshen run, and set the bar high, with a focused opening and a consistent lock for the entire fight. Before we move further, I'd like to discuss the ledges in the Ancient Leshen starting area and why each ledge was used. The first ledge to be used was the middle ledge. This one was dropped early and was not pursued by either of our teams. It was a relatively inaccurate ledge, giving Ancient Leshen plenty of room to move around and create havoc during the runs. Bomb's team settled into the east ledge early on. The east ledge benefits from having a wall behind it. This creates a small area for Leshen to move around, and this is important because the strat that both teams use going forward heavily revolves around mount abuse. While Ancient Leshen is mounted, it can move and turn around out of position, creating bad angles for your strikes, killing your DPS. One negative to this ledge though is a seemingly more random pull, meaning getting Ancient Leshen to that ledge required a little bit more RNG. TSC's team used the west ledge, which has the benefit of having a consistent pull to the ledge, but because of the larger surface area and no wall to prevent the monster from moving backwards, this creates a more inconsistent fight. So, the east ledge had a harder time pulling, but an easier fight, while the west ledge had an easier time pulling, but a harder fight. February 18th, Bomb's team retaliated with a 333, a bombshell blow to Jin and TSC's team. The run features 4 aerial greatswords as usual for Bomb's team. They incorporated the flash manipulation laid out from TSC and his crew into their own run. In addition to that though, they used something called the Scatternut Lock. By using a scatternut on the monster's face while mounted, Ancient Leshen's AI will stand still. This creates an immobile target for the runners, greatly increasing your DPS. You can chain 2 scatternuts together. After that, the players would finish their mount, throw a flash bomb to bridge the gap till the next player gets another mount. And since all the players grab scatternuts at the start, the lock will continue with the next player mounted. Though the run was a massive improvement and world record, the weakness of the east ledge is evident in the opening of the fight. Players just stand at the east ledge, waiting for Ancient Leshen to teleport there. Regardless, the implementation of the Scatternut Lock is vital for progressing the fight further. February 19th, the Sky Bandits posted the world's first sub-330 Melee Ancient Leshen run, a 329. This time with TSC, Sazerou, Prey, and Jin Furai, still continuing to use 2 aerial hammers and 2 aerial greatswords. The strategy is much the same as their 347, with slight optimizations, better hits, and a little better RNG on Ancient Leshen's part. The team did not implement the Scatternut Lock on this run used by Bomb's team. This would prove to be a vital mistake. Hours after TSC's team posted their sub 330, Bomb would drop, well, a bomb. At the start of the fight, the team gets a perfect teleport right to their ledge. Again, there is no consistent way that we know of getting Ancient Leshen to that ledge. Bomb's team continued using the Scatternut lock and flashing Ancient Leshen when the players weren't mounted, and they close out the fight with a blistering 257, the world's first sub 3 and a new world record. This would be Bomb and his team's final post for 4-player Ancient Leshen speedruns. I need to take a break here and explain the skill, effort, and communication for these runs to be completed. Every team member needs to be communicating what they're doing, how many scatternuts they used, when they're flashing, when they're finishing a mount, who's in charge of the flashes. I mean, to coordinate 4-man runs, especially in Monster Hunter World, it's extremely difficult. It's also worth mentioning that all the members on Jin and TSC's team were in TSC's Speedrun Discord. They had their own dedicated server for Ancient Leshen strat discussion and everything. Meeting plans, when the team would get together to do attempts. These players were in constant communication, often having 2 teams running at one time, or even having subs and standbys for nights they're doing attempts. I really contributed nothing to the Ancient Leshen discussion, but I witnessed these players, their struggles, trials, tribulations, uncertainty if their strat was effective or not, and especially after Bomb's sub 3 run, the team was shook. At least for a couple of days. The team would post their runs on March 7th, certainly a statement to all challengers. First, a 247 featuring TSC, Sazerou, Prey, and Jin Furai, using 2 aerial hammers and 2 aerial greatswords. Then, a 237 featuring TSC, Jin, Preydator, and Phemeto, using 4 aerial greatswords. And then finally, the 230 featuring TSC, Sazerou, Prey, and Jin, using 4 aerial greatswords. The team was able to get these new PBs and world records by first incorporating the Scatternut lock into their runs. They stick to the west ledge and continue using flash flinching to bridge the gap between mounts. But this time, they added heroics into the mix. By using Ancient Leshen's Bird Aura, the players can melt their own HP. The Bird Aura will disappear when Leshen is downed or his head is broken. So, the person who mounts Leshen would watch their teammates' health. When everyone was in heroics range, the mounter would finish the mount, putting Leshen on his knees, thus making everyone safe. We see Affinity Booster used as well, along with using Scatternuts instead of flashes to bridge the gap between mounts. On the 230 run, everything just clicked. And for this fleeting moment, 2 minutes and 30 seconds, these players were one. These players were selfless. With Ancient Leshen coming to the PC soon, we are sure to see some development in the 4-man speedrun scene for this monster. The work that these players put into Ancient Leshen has laid the groundwork for any potential up-and-comers and world record challengers. What new discoveries will they bring to the table? What new optimizations will they implement? And what team is willing to throw down and have a knife-edge deathmatch like Yusuke and Chu did, like Bomb's and TSC's team did? Thanks for watching, and as always, keep playing that sweet chin music, boys.